The warning on the freighter's hull had been sanded by rock and time until only 2 words were clear. Do not. The rest stuttered into a jagged DA, while thumb-sized asteroids pinged noisily off the metal. A memo drone smacked the donk's windshield with the confidence of a parking ticket and flashed a message in cheerful red. Derelict verification quotas at 38%, fines pending. Nova had 3 stacks of colour-coded forms bungee-corded to the console, each stack taller than his purple head. Zarg had found a way to nap sitting up with his eyes open. J.I.M-BOT hovered, projecting a graph that only went down. No transponder, no beacon, just a big mute ship and the kind of silence that felt like a dare. Nova quoted without looking at his notes, because of course he knew it by heart. ISC Regulation 14C. If quarantine signage is illegible or incomplete, officers must verify derelict status within 12 standard hours using Form 9Q under Level 3 biohazard precautions. Zarg stared at the half-erased letters and said, "That sounds like future Zarg's problem." J.I.M-BOT chimed, "Autodoc insurance expired yesterday." Grapples extended anyway, because fines beat fear on their pay scale. They hand-over-handed across, thrusters from the donk sputtering just enough to keep them aligned, and stepped into the freighter's quarantine lock. It sealed behind them with a heavy, final sound. The tether tried to retract and jammed mid-spool. A console woke with a clinical glow. Boarding attempt detected. Compliance audit required. Emergency lighting pulsed. Something pale and oval clung to the bulkhead and trembled, and another oval trembled in reply. They stood in a corridor that had been stripped down to wire and conduit, and then given a new layer of trouble. Ovoid sacs had attached themselves along the seams like a rash of grapes, connected by translucent veins that disappeared into vents. The floor shined with resin that looked like ice left out under a heat lamp. Every other light flickered. The air had the tang of disinfectant and something wet. "Diagnostic complete," J.I.M-BOT said. "You're all idiots." Nova adjusted his helmet seal the way people adjust glasses when they're nervous. "We have to verify derelict status or we get fined and possibly reprimanded. Both are unacceptable." Zarg nudged a sack with a gloved knuckle. It didn't pop. "This is a ship full of eggs," he said, "and I have made peace with being fine." "Do not touch the unknown biostructures," Nova snapped, then caught himself. "Please, also stay calm. If this is level 3, we have to not be here," Zarg said. He looked back at the sealed airlock. "But the door disagrees." A narrow hatch marked bridge access glared red at them. An inset panel said, "Authorized compliance auditors only." "Present badge." Another line below it politely informed them that unauthorized attempts would trigger deterrent measures. "The deterrents are already here," Zarg said, looking at the eggs. Nova put a hand up to his helmet, searching menus. Okay. Form 9Q, Level 7 biohazard deactivation requires a wet stamp from the ship's compliance unit, then presentation to the master biosecurity panel on the bridge for reclassification." He sucked in a breath and squared his shoulders. "We can do this." J.I.M-BOT's light ring rotated. "I calculate a 19% chance of success. The good news is you are statistically overdue for luck." "Any plan with fewer than 10 steps is mercifully short," Zarg said. They moved, slowly at first, because every footstep tried to skate out from under them. The resin had no friction. Nova's first attempt at graceful forward momentum turned into a slow-motion split. Zarg caught him by the harness and towed him upright with a grunt. The emergency strobes pulsed and their shadows stuttered along the wall. A training module popped into all 3 HUDs like an uninvited pop-up. "Welcome to the biosecurity compliance environment," said a soft voice. "Before proceeding, please complete Module 3, recognizing unauthorized organics." "Decline," Zarg said. The module ignored him, expanding until it blocked their field of view. The soft voice continued. "Estimated duration, 12 minutes. Skipping is disabled by the captain." "Of course it is," Nova said through clenched teeth. "We can watch while we walk." They rounded a corner and found their unexpected ally, a squat machine half swallowed by a wall niche. The label said PRNTR 700 and a cracked display below it read, "Online, Insert blue ink only. Nova almost cried with relief. A compliance printer. Old but functional. He clapped his hands, forgot the resin, and slid into the niche. His knees dinged the casing. He didn't care. He pulled out a cartridge set from his bag like a magician producing scarves. We're going to wet stamp that 9Q and walk onto that bridge like we belong. The printer hummed with the confidence of machinery that had outlived 3 budget cycles. It spat a page that said cover sheet in bold and then kept going. Another sheet and another. Why is it 47 pages of cover sheets? Zarg asked. Because the PRNTR 700 adheres to legacy packet protocols, Nova said, eyes darting between the feed tray and the HUD video that showed a smiling animated germ sitting in an office cubicle. It's fine, it's tradition. J.I.M-BOT drifted back a meter. Tradition also says blue ink. You brought blue, yes? Nova held up the cartridge triumphantly and slammed it home. The printer thunked. A stamp arm the size of a toddler's leg cocked and dropped hard on the form with a sound like a gavel. The corridor echoed. Every egg within sight quivered. Several split along seams with quiet, wet zippers. Pale, fist-sized hatchlings uncurled, all mouth and jointed legs. They turned toward the noise. New plan, Zarg said, already backing up. Less stamping. The printer, unaware of optics, stamped again. Thunk. Hatchlings poured over the walls and floor in a ripple that made Nova's breath hitch. I memorized the manual, he said, half to himself. Why is it not helping? It helps if you read the section about not antagonizing deterrence, J.I.M-BOT said. I have 17 ways to solve this. You chose none. The training video chirped in their ears. Do not panic. Panic attracts biobaffles. I'm not panicking, Nova said, voice going high enough to count as a lie. Zarg unsnapped a tin from his belt, scooped a finger of thick wax, and smeared it along the rim of a floor vent. He pulled a strip of flaking insulation free and pressed it into place. I keep this for moustache emergencies, he said. Today it's for bug traffic. I thought that was a joke, Nova said, eyes wide as the improvised lip created a channel. The first wave of hatchlings reached the vent, found the easier path, and spilled Greatward like marbles finding a drain. J.I.M-BOT angled himself to block another stream. While you two practice home maintenance, I will talk to the ship. Their compliance node is still running. With your permission, I will purchase a 30-day trial of the Auditor Override plugin. Do we have budget for that? Zarg asked. No, J.I.M-BOT said, but I can sign us up and then forget to cancel. My memory is perfect, unlike yours. Also, premium features unlocked for 29 minutes. TikTok. Do it, Nova said, already feeding more sheets through the PRNTR 700. Each stamped page sent a fresh tremor through the corridor. He winced and timed the stamps between the waves of hatchlings. The HUD video cheerfully explained the difference between mould and malicious mould. They inched toward the bridge access as a memo drone drifted out from a ceiling dock and floated like an officious bee. It scanned the area, beeped at the printer, and issued a citation in a prim tone. Excessive stamping decibels. Fine assessed. Zarg flicked the citation away with a finger. Add it to the pile. The bridge access hatch read their lack of credentials and didn't move. J.I.M-BOT gave a little ping. I am now emulating an auditor badge. It is legal for 29 more minutes in the sense that the trial agreement is legally binding until cancelled. Present the 9Q for verification. Nova held up the damp, freshly stamped Form 9Q with hands that shook less than a moment ago. The hatch screen flashed green, then yellow. A text appeared. Present Captain Biometric Cosign. No Captain, Zarg said. No sign. Nova's focus wobbled. The manual didn't... It did, J.I.M-BOT said. You skipped the sidebar while sliding on resin. Hatchlings probed their boots, then their calves. Their tiny legs scratched like Velcro. Nova squeaked, sliding back as Zarg leaned harder into the vent channeling, smearing more wax. The training video hit 99% and froze there with a calm gradient background. Come on, Zarg said to the frozen bar. He pressed a gloved thumb to the screen as if force could move it. It did nothing. Module locked until video concludes, the calm voice said. For your safety. Nova did mental math so fast it came out as a whine. We need the captain's cosign, we need this video to finish, we need the override to ping the panel, and we need not to be eaten or fined to death. He dug a stylus out with shaking fingers and started filling a secondary form mid-slide. Submitting form 12B, boarding notice, maybe it softens the requirement set. Optimism detected, J.I.M-BOT said, recording for rare behaviours file. His light ring pulsed. I can splice a temporary captain profile from crew logs. It will be shallow and easily revoked, but should cosign. It is also an ethics violation in 3 jurisdictions, 2 of which don't exist anymore. Do it, Zarg said. He glanced at the hatchlings funneling down the waxed vent, then at the dozen that had circled back up the wall and around. Nova, watch your left. Nova slapped the stamped 12B onto the printer's tray, fed it through, and flinched at the thunk. The memo drone, still hovering, printed another tiny fine for unauthorized stapling sounds. No one had stapled anything. The bridge panel chimed. Captain profile detected, cosign required. A handprint icon glowed. Zarg put his gloved hand on it. The system thought about it and accepted the fake captain's digital cosign. The HUD video crawled the last percent like a lazy snail. Hatchlings reached mid-thigh and found seams to explore. Nova, Zarg said, eyes on the video timer, do less. He stopped fidgeting. He stopped babbling. For a second, he stopped everything but breathing. The video hit 100%. The module flashed. Completed proceed to bridge. The hatch chirped. Authorized auditors may enter. And then everything went still for half a heartbeat, like the ship was waiting to see what they would do next. They pushed through the hatch into a bridge whose best days were 2 refits ago. Consoles lined the walls with labels that had been updated in at least 4 different fonts. The master biosecurity panel dominated the centre, a rectangular monolith with a slot for paper and a ridge for stamps because progress meant more ways to be official. Nova stepped up and presented the 9Q and the 12B-like offerings. Reclassify us as authorised auditors, he said, voice steadying. Then we won't be unauthorised organics. J.I.M-BOT hovered over the panel and broadcast a thin tone. Auditor override trial active, hand it everything and maybe it will like you. Zarg scanned the corridor behind them. Hatchlings had paused at the threshold as if an invisible line held them back. They massed there, clicking quietly. The panel took the papers with mechanical indifference and demanded one more thing in cold text. Present wet stamp for compliance verification. Nova fed the stamped forms. The panel read the blue seal, considered, and printed an acceptance slip with a tiny green smiley face. Recognition complete, the ship's system said. Auditor class, temporary. On the corridor monitors, every egg and hatchling responded at once. The ovoids loosened their grip on bulkheads and unfurled into neat sheets, then deflated into foam brackets labelled with alphanumeric codes. The hatchlings folded like soft origami and settled into those brackets. The clicking faded to the hush of packaging being put away. Nova let out air like he'd been saving it for a test. They're not eggs, he said, half laughing, half horrified. They're xenoclutch biobaffles, legal deterrents. They stand down when they detect filed audit paperwork paired with a valid compliance stamp. Good news, J.I.M-BOT said. You have discovered that weaponized paperwork is still paperwork. Zarg watched the last hatchling tuck itself into foam with the resignation of a cat going into a carrier. We could have led with that, he said. The panel wasn't done. It popped up a satisfaction survey. Please rate your deterrent experience from 1 to 5. Nova pressed 3 on instinct and then checked himself. 3 feels fair, he said. They did their job. A receipt began to print. It did not stop. Pages slid into a curling pile on the floor, listing every action, form, stamp, cosign, and minute watched of the training video. The printer at the corridor spat a matching set. Somewhere in the ship, the memo drone hummed with purpose. Time to go, Zarg said, The bridge hatch recognized their new status and obliged. The foam corridors were suddenly easy to walk. The resin had hardened into a textured mat, like the ship had swapped sabotage for hospitality. They moved faster, stepping over stacks of paper, ducking under a duck that had settled lower now that fewer things were pulsing behind it. Nova held the audit packet under one arm like a football, and the temporary badge that had printed for him in the other. He pinned it to his chest with almost reverent care. It read, Auditor, Temporary. Do we have to keep that? Zarg asked. We get to keep it, Nova corrected. J.I.M-BOT pulsed a warning. Premium features expire in 7 minutes. After that, you are just people again. They reached the quarantine lock. The inner door slid closed behind them with a tone that tried to be reassuring. The outer door stayed firm. The console asked for final confirmation. Submit audit packet and exit. Nova scanned, stamped, and presented. The door thought, then rotated its locks. A memo drone floated into view like a nosy neighbour. It projected a fresh notice against the inside of the visor glass. Temporary biohazard compliance officers assigned Sector C9, and congratulations. Then, beneath that, another line. Fee assessed for grappling in lieu of insured docking. Nova's eyes sparkled with a zeal that might one day get someone killed. We got assigned, he said. We did so well they assigned us. Zarg gave the notice a look that bordered on respect for the audacity. Future Zarg's problem, he said. They crossed back along the grapples, the donk's mismatched modules gleaming like a puzzle that shouldn't fit but somehow did. The memo drone that had glued itself to the windshield earlier still rode the wiper. Triumphant. J.I.M-BOT drifted ahead and ran a quick scan as the outer hatch of the donk opened. Team competency chart updated, he said. Statistically improbable survival achieved again. Nova set the audit packet on the nav console. It looked absurdly tidy. He tapped the temporary badge on his chest. I'm going to rewatch the training module, he said, for best practices. Zarg sat in the pilot's chair and leaned back until it creaked. I don't remember doing it, he said, staring at nothing in particular. But I probably did. The donk's systems cycled up in a way that could charitably be called a start. The memo drone released the wiper and rotated to face them as if gathering itself for another announcement. Nova preloaded a fresh stack of forms under the console. J.I.M-BOT powered down to a lazy hover that still managed to feel judgmental. The incoming message chimed. Appointments, fines, and an invitation to rate their onboarding experience stacked neatly in their queue. Nova reached for the training module with a bright, dangerous enthusiasm. Zarg closed his eyes like a man preparing for a nap he had earned and would never get. Outside, the derelict floated on, quietly reclassified and very much verified, which was the only kind of victory they were budgeted for today.
Intergalactic Space Cops, the galaxy's pride, fighting for freedom